All right, so are you ready to dive into a mystery that'll really get you thinking?
Always up for a good mystery. What do we have today?
Today we're looking into the disappearance of Frederick Valentich, a young pilot who vanished over the Bass Strait. This happened back in 1978 in Australia.
Okay, I've heard of this case. Lots of theories floating around.
You know it. What starts as like a normal training flight, totally routine,
Yeah.
suddenly becomes this huge puzzle. Like, what even happened? We're going to this article called The Vanishing of Frederick Valentich, Alien Encounter or Tragic Accident. It lays out a lot of the details.
Sounds intriguing. So fill me in. Who was this Frederick Valentich?
He was just 20 years old, super into aviation, just a regular guy on a flight. It's supposed to be a quick trip.
Quick how? Like a joyride.
Yeah, basically. Just 45 minutes across the Bass Strait, no big deal, right?
Yeah.
But it's anything but a simple story.
All right, I'm hooked. What happened?
So picture this. It's October 21st, 1978. Valentich takes off from Moorabbin Airport in Melbourne. It's 6:18 p.m. Weather's perfect, clear skies, nothing seems off.
Okay, routine flight so far. When does it get strange?
Well, hold on tight. It's about an hour into the flight, 7:06 p.m., when things take a turn. Valentich contacts air traffic control in Melbourne, and reading the transcripts, you can tell something's not right.
Not right how? What does he say?
He's calm, but there's this tension in his voice. He starts asking about other aircraft in the area, but the control's like, nope, nothing below 5,000 feet. But Valentich, he's not convinced. He says he has something above him.
Oh, doesn't sound good. What does he say it looks like?
He describes this long metallic object, and get this, it has green lights. And then he says something really odd. He uses the word playing to describe how it's moving.
Playing, as in like a game.
Exactly. He says it's moving. Almost playing a game. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, like it suggests some kind of intelligence behind it, not just a random thing in the sky.
Right. And it freaks him out, obviously. His voice starts getting more and more distressed. He says it's disappearing and reappearing, moving at super high speeds. The transmissions, they start getting all broken up, like he's struggling to even speak.
I can only imagine. That'd be terrifying.
And then at 7:12 p.m., he says these final words, chilling, really. He says, it's not an aircraft, it's, and then nothing. Dead air.
Wow. Just cuts out like that.
Gone. Completely silent.
And they never found him.
Nope. Huge searches, tons of people looking, nothing. No trace of him or the plane, ever.
That's crazy. I mean, what are the odds of that? It's not a tiny plane, right?
Right, you'd think they'd find something.
Yeah.
The official explanation, what the authorities say is that he probably crashed. They think maybe he got disoriented or overwhelmed by whatever he was seeing.
I guess it makes sense in a way. But it seems too easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the article says a lot of people who knew Valentich, people who flew with him, they didn't buy it at all. They said he was a good pilot, not the kind to panic.
Right. Especially not enough to just vanish.
Yeah. And his descriptions of this object, they don't fit any known weather phenomena or illusions.
So if it wasn't a crash, what was it? The article title mentions aliens.
Yeah. That's where things get really interesting. Buckle up, because we're going down the rabbit hole.
Lead the way. Alien abduction is always a popular one, isn't it? But are there any other theories out there about this?
Oh, yeah, there are tons. Some a little more out there than others. Like the article talks about the possibility of atmospheric illusions, like mirages and stuff. Or even those weird earthquake lights.
Earthquake lights. No, that's something I haven't heard much about.
Right, I had no idea either. I've heard of like ball lightning and stuff, but never earthquake lights.
So what are they exactly, these earthquake lights?
Well, from what I gather, it's this phenomenon where electrical charges get released from the Earth's crust. It happens during earthquakes or sometimes even before them.
And that creates, what, like light shows in the sky?
Yeah, kind of. They say these charges can ionize the air, and that can make glowing orbs or streaks of light. It's pretty wild.
Huh. Interesting. But would that really explain what Valentich saw? I mean, his description sounded pretty specific.
That's the thing. It's hard to say for sure. We'd have to look into whether there were any earthquakes or seismic activity in the Bass Strait around that time.
Right, right. And even if there were those earthquake lights, would they really move around like Valentich described, like playing a game with him?
Good point. That playing thing really is the detail that gets me.
Me too. It's just so bizarre. And then there's the fact that no wreckage was ever found. I mean, shouldn't there be something?
You would think, right. But get this, the article mentions that a piece of wreckage did actually wash up on Flinders Island a few years later. in 1983, I think it was.
So they did find something. Was it from Valentich's plane?
That's the thing. They couldn't definitively link it to his plane. It's like this frustrating clue that just leads to a dead end.
Classic mystery stuff.
Yeah.
Just enough to make you wonder, but not enough to give you any answers.
Exactly. So we have these lingering questions, and then on top of it all, the Bass Strait has this whole reputation for being kind of a weird place.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
Well, even after Valentich disappeared, there kept being all these reports of strange stuff happening out there.
Like what?
Pilots reported seeing flickering lights, having radio interference. Some even had, like, unexplained malfunctions with their equipment.
Sounds like a hot spot for UFO activity. Do you think there's something about that location itself that might be causing this?
Maybe. It's kind of spooky, right? Like,
Yeah.
something about the area is just
Oh,
off.
yeah.
It makes you wonder if there's something we don't understand about the geography or even the magnetic fields out there.
It's fascinating and a bit unsettling, to be honest. This whole case really makes you think. I mean, what do you think is the most compelling aspect of all this?
Good question. I think for me, it's the combination of Valentich's account. Like, he seems totally rational, right? But then he gets more and more distressed. And then silence. And the fact that there's absolutely no physical evidence, especially no wreckage, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, that lack of wreckage is a big one. Doesn't really add up.
Right. And then you add that playing detail. I mean, come on. It implies something deliberate, like there was some kind of intelligence behind it.
Totally. It definitely makes the alien abduction theory tempting, but I still think we need to consider all the possibilities.
Oh, absolutely. So what else is out there? We've got aliens, we've got earthquake lights. What about the possibility of, I don't know, like a secret aircraft or something? Like maybe he stumbled into some kind of military exercise or testing zone.
It's possible, I suppose, though you'd think a skilled pilot like Valentich would be able to recognize a military aircraft, even a super advanced one, right?
Yeah, you would think. But maybe it was something so top secret, beyond anything he'd ever seen. It would kind of explain the government's reluctance to find anything to. A cover-up, maybe?
A cover-up, huh? It's not entirely out of the realm of possibility, I guess. But we're getting into some pretty deep conspiracy territory here.
True. Okay, so what about the other theories? Didn't the article mention suicide as a possibility?
It did, yeah. But I'm not buying it. Valentich was young, he loved flying, and he had plans for the future. It just doesn't seem likely that he would have done something like that.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit. What about a hoax? Could this whole thing have been like an elaborate prank gone wrong?
It's a thought, but think about how much effort it would take to fake something like this. You'd need to coordinate the radio transmissions, the witness accounts, everything.
And the article makes it clear Valentich didn't have a history of mental instability or anything like that. He was considered a reliable pilot with a good reputation.
Exactly. It just seems really unlikely that he'd be capable of pulling off something so elaborate.
So we've gone through all the theories: alien abduction, earthquake lights, a secret aircraft, suicide, even a hoax. Where does that leave us? What are we left with after all this?
Well, honestly, I think we're left with a mystery. A real head-scratcher. The vanishing of Frederick Valentich, it's one of those cases that just doesn't have an easy answer. Like, it makes you think about what we actually know and maybe what we don't.
It's true. It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but some of the pieces are missing. And the ones we have don't really fit together. We've gone through all the evidence, all the different theories, and still we don't really know what happened.
What's your take on it? I mean, after going through all of this, what stands out to you?
Well, for me, it kind of reinforces the idea that learning is a journey. It's not always about having all the answers. Sometimes, like with this case, we might never have a definitive solution. But the act of exploring these questions, trying to analyze them, I think that's what really helps us understand the world, and our place in it. I totally get that. And I think that's what makes cases like this so fascinating. They push us to think outside the box, to question what we think we know, to be open to the possibility that there are things out there that we just don't understand yet.
Absolutely. And I think that's why people are still talking about Frederick Valentich's disappearance all these years later. It's a reminder that even with all our technology, all our advancements, there are still mysteries out there that we just can't crack.
So true.
Yeah.
I mean, we may never know for sure what happened to him that night over the Bass Strait, but I do think we've gained something from this deep dive.
Yeah?
It's sparked our curiosity, made us think about things in a new way.
I'd say so. It's almost like we've gotten a little glimpse into the unknown, just a peek.
Well said. Well, I want to thank you for coming on this journey with me. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to you, dear listener, we hope you enjoyed this exploration into the unknown. We hope it's given you something to think about, maybe even sparked a little bit of curiosity. And until next time, remember to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop looking up at the stars. You never know what mysteries might be waiting out there.